Lagos, Nigeria's lagoon city. Lagos, Africa's leading Nepal city and the world's sixth mega city. Lagos, Africa's foremost urban center and hub to national, regional, and global socio-economic and political activities. The City of Lagos TV show, the voice of Lagos. Let's talk Lagos. You're welcome. Hello Nigerians, you're welcome to Lagos Agencies in Focus on TV Nigeria. And of course, today, as usual, the platform Lagos Agencies in Focus is to affirm, attest, and of course, confirm the level of progress made so far, especially by strategic agencies in Lagos State. And you agree with me that these agencies are catalysts to growth, especially when you consider the Things Plus agenda of Mr. Governor. For all the agencies, they've got strategic purpose and, of course, vision, mission, and mandate to deliver on the Things Plus agenda. And so, when we talk about maintenance, the business of maintenance, especially in public schools, there is a strategic agency in Lagos State, Special Committee on Rehabilitations of Public Schools in Lagos. This is one agency that has been saddled with the responsibility to bring to bear the four cardinal issues when it has to do with maintenance, talking about refurbishment, renovation, furnishing, and equipment. But to what extent has this agency lived up to the expectations of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's Things Plus agenda? Today, we're going to be speaking with the Executive Chairman, Quantity Surveyor QS, for short, Akeem Smith. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, first, let's know you. Who is QS Akeem Smith?
Thank you very much. I'm a registered quantity surveyor. I'm a fellow of the Nigerian Institution of Quantity Surveyors and also a fellow of the Royal Institution of British Surveyors, RICS. Being a quantity surveyor, went through formal school, primary, secondary, I started my QS experience, academic works at the Yaba College of Technology. Thereafter, finished, started work, then went to further studies, did business management, because you see, I realized that it's always good to have a very, very lateral experience and knowledge in life. Whilst growing up, we were the regular students. When you get to a stage in your life, you realize that there's a lot you can do. And perhaps if you've seen that you have a life in a particular profession. I discovered myself at a very, very early age. At that point, I realized that I had to make sure I'm a rounded guy. So I went into business management. I had a master's in business management. I didn't stop at that. I also went into, now because I realized that projects generally, because I'm a project person, goes beyond CapEx. Capital expenditure is what I mean by CapEx, and it's about building infrastructure, buildings, and etc. Civil engineering buildings, and civil engineering works, building works, etc., etc. But over and beyond that, you need to think about post-construction management, which is where the capital OPEX, operating cost, comes in. And in order to be sure that I'm able to understand how to manage OPEX, I went into facilities management. So I went to the University of Reading. I had a master's of science in facilities management from the University of Reading, United Kingdom. So when I finished, I did all my certifications. I did certifications as a quantity surveyor, got registered with IFMA, also went to project management. So I made sure I have a lateral experience. So I'm able to understand developments from start to finish and post-construction. That is, you can actually think about operating costs. Because you realize that what happens really is that, I could tell you for free, OPEX is about 60% of what I call project life cycle costing. CapEx, which is the initial cost is just about 30, 35, 40%. But operating cost is which is more, 60%. So it's important for us to always look at development projects from OPEX rather than just CAPEX. Because so I always encourage designers to look at designs, construction from the maintenance perspective and not just to put it down. Because if I know that the elephant in the room is not CAPEX, rather it's OPEX. But because we lack maintenance, we don't put that proper perspective. So anyway, that being said, I think I'm a quantity surveyor and I've been privileged to also do finance. I foray into finance, so at least I'm able to understand the time value of money. I know the financial languages very well because I did certifications and courses from the Oxford Business School.
You're really in your comfort zone.
And I also did something with London School of Economics.
Wow, fantastic.
So I have all these.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, from an historical perspective, what informed the establishment of this committee? Who constitutes this committee? And what are your terms of reference and your core values?
Let me just give a bit of a background. SCRPS existed before, was initially established by the current president of Nigeria.
Fantastic.
Then the Lagos State Governor, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. 2003, I think, he started it. And we had one chairman then, Dedan Obokun, who is also a quantity surveyor. In their wisdom, I don't know why it is so, but I'll give you a bit of a background why I think it is so, from what I've seen. The professional that's actually needed when you talk about rehabilitating schools, because it's a numbers thing. Because we are not doing designs, not much of designs, but rather repeated works, which is going to do what I call schedule of dilapidation. I'm going to do an assessment of a building and costing the assessment works. That is bill of rectification. When you have to do those things, you need a quantity surveyor to actually go to site and do what I call schedule of dilapidation and bill of rectification. And those are skills that are mostly inherited in a quantity surveyor rather than all other allied professionals. Although we all did some same thing in school, they also know about this. But in terms of putting numbers together, this is the work of a quantity surveyor. So that's why I think then too, it was headed by a quantity surveyor. And coincidentally, when Mr. Oyedepo was to inaugurate SCRPS, in his wisdom, he ended up having a quantity surveyor to head the agency. So now the constitution now is rather robust than what we had in the days of the other time. Because now we have a board. Then it was just a chairman. I was being supported by some other people from the ministries. But now we have a board. So the board is intentionally put together because we have an engineer in the board, we have an architect in the board, we have a lawyer in the board. It's just a board secretary. So all these members have some very, very critical role in ensuring that things are done. For instance, when we had to do new building designs, we have an architect. Although we had to engage a lot of other external people, because when we started out, we had to do what I call we needed to call stakeholders engagement. We called everybody together. When we started out 2019, November 4th, we had the first stakeholder engagement. That gave us an opportunity of what is really needed in schools. How can we ensure that the buildings we are going to be putting together is going to last the test of time? How do we ensure it's functional? How do we ensure that it have good access, both horizontal and vertical? What about cross-ventilation? What about sustainable materials? So we had a stakeholders engagement where we invited a lot of external architects, engineers, school owners and proprietors that are even from the private sector, past principals, PSCs and the rest, to discuss what we need to look at the issue of maintenance of those buildings. So when you have an excessively big buildings, people will say, well, they can take a lot of students, but again, what about maintenance? Then again, we are so critical about ensuring there's ventilation. Our windows sizing, number of windows, the number of doors, the size of the classroom, the maximum that we expect the classroom to take for students. We looked at the issue of the corridors. We looked at the issue of the toilets for the students. So we reintroduced numerous toilets now. Before, we never had toilets. The current buildings we have now, each of the buildings have 30 toilets for students. In those buildings you're seeing, that's unprecedented. Because it was important, we looked at the number of students in the school. So we had bank of toilets on the right and on the left, male and female. And we looked at the floor with respect to material finish that is durable. We considered the use of terrazzo, that we brought back terrazzo because it's durable and it lasts, unlike having just normal screed or having tiles on the floor, because some of our chairs, they break the tiles. Then we looked at the windows. In the past, they had metal windows. It makes the school look unattractive, makes it look like a warehouse, a dead place. And we were conscious of one thing, because when you have those metals as windows, when it is raining, once you shut the windows and you don't have lights, you can't see. We decided to introduce aluminum sliding windows or projector windows with nice frames with glass that can throw in lights. So, but what we just did again was to ensure that we divided the windows into panes. Students will always play ball during break time. So when they play against the windows, you're sure that even if the ball hits, it won't be the whole.
Definitely.
And we also have vertical movements, larger staircases, large corridors. We ensure that we had upstand walls that are durable instead of what we had before. We no longer use metal railings because we've seen incidents with that. So we use block work with the circular poles. Okay. Then we had burglary proof because again, you never can say, because all of these things, even the roofing. Now we even introduced what I call concrete fascias now to wrap around the building. What does that do? During rainy season, when there is storm, you can hardly see any of our buildings that the roof taken away because of the storms. Because what we've done is that instead of having what they normally have as flexible external ceiling eaves, so what we've done was to now wrap it with concrete. And I think that's the results of what we're seeing now. That most of our schools, since 2019, 5-6 years, I don't think anyone has had a...
That's quite impressive. Well, in case you just join us, this is Lagos Agencies in Focus on TV Nigeria. We're speaking with QS Akeem Smith, who happens to be the chairman, Special Committee on Rehabilitations of Public Schools in Lagos State. Now, Chairman, what's the mandate, the vision and mission statement of this agency? And to what extent have your agency, under your office, lived up to the Themes Plus agenda of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu?
Thank you very much. Well, our mission is to try as much as possible to ensure holistic rehabilitation of the schools in Lagos State, both primary schools and secondary schools. And that being the mission of the agency, and the mandate was to just make sure that all these schools that are derelict with respect to the physical infrastructure, we want to make sure that they are back to a very, very standard state where you'll be happy to come to school. And we have terms of reference that were given at that time, which included, doing this assessment into schools, giving them furniture, like you said, building new classroom blocks to where there's shortage of classroom blocks. For records, we have about 1,026 primary schools in Lagos State. Junior secondary school, 338, and also senior, 335. So in total, we have about 1,700. So we went around, because it was a daunting task, really, because by the time we got in, if you go around the schools, you feel like weeping. And see some of the state of the schools.
Very deplorable.
Very, very deplorable. Students, some of them had no seats, no furniture in classes. Some of them had to sit on the windows to listen to lectures. In some schools, they sit on tires. Some will bring in blocks to sit down. And some of these classrooms are leaking. When it rains like this, they all have to gather together on one side. Lecture stops. And when I talk about schools, I'm quite passionate about it because when you look at schools, you are talking about schools in Ikeja, schools in Yaba, schools. I'm not talking about those schools. I'm talking about far off in Ekpe, Ikorodu, Badagry. And some schools that when you get to interior, even some, you have to take a boat to get to. So we went around, covered quite a number. We initiate the bills of quantities here because we are the one that go around for assessment. Once we initiate the bills of quantities, we have the public procurement agency who have the responsibility to assess any contractor you are awarding contracts to. So they are internal stakeholders. We work with the Ministry of Education because they are our ministries that they are user ministry.
Honestly, you're just the right man for the job.
Thank you.
Now, in recognition of the committee's commitment, because revamping infrastructural decay in public schools, Chairman, give us an accurate and verifiable data as to how many classrooms that have been constructed, number of public schools rehabilitated across all 6 education districts covering the 20 local government areas, as well as the emergency interventions
When we started, we have what we call short-term, mid-term, and long-term objectives. We realized that we have just 4 years because we didn't know we are going to have 8 years. You don't start with 8 years. It was a 4-tenured regime. So within that 4-year tenure, we want to make sure that we're able to touch our objectives, our strategy. So that strategy we started, the renovation is part of it. The starting point is renovation. We were doing renovations, which what we call the low-hanging fruits. Those are short terms. We went to the schools, quick fix, clean out the spaces, stop leakages, make sure the classrooms are habitable for
Just
students. Quick fixes.
Yeah.
That's short term. Pam, we were able to finish that. The midterm was to add to classrooms. Because when you get to some school, when you take the data, you go to some school, you take data, you realize that perhaps in the classroom you have about 80 or 90 students. Some are even over 100 students in some classrooms. So what do? In such schools, you now have to build some new classroom blocks. So that was able to come in within our medium strategy. Then the long term was to ensure that we come up with schools that match international standards. What am I talking about? The IT-driven schools that you now have interactive screens, where students learn with tablets. Some of those things are what we have in our long-term strategy. And in second and third, we introduced making sure that we have recreation facilities in schools. Recreation facilities was important to us to have in school. So we had all of that. So we had a blend within 4 years to ensure that each of these strategies are all implemented within that 4 years. So there was a kind of a concurrent work plan to ensure that whilst the short time is going, mid is kicking in, long is also kicking in. So at least today, within that 4 years, we had the veteran school. The veteran school is an IT-driven school where you have interactive screens, we had the tablets for students, it's all off-grid. Then the midterm, we had new classroom blocks that we had built in some areas, like Otedola, Elemoro, etc. We've done beautiful schools that are commendable, that are lovely, that you can see when you see the infrastructure, the buildings, they are quite pleasing to the eyes. Like I told you earlier, all the various things that we thought we wanted to have there with respect to design is aesthetically pleasing, sustainable designs, etc. was put in there. Then the short term definitely is a continuous thing. Because there's still a lot to do, but we thank God that the mileage we've achieved is commendable. That's the honest truth. With respect to the number of classrooms that we've done, let me just give you realistic data. About 1,416 classrooms has been added to the stock in Lagos State now. Then we also built hostels. So in some of our model colleges, we have some hostels. We have about each block on the hostel. We did that for about 7 or 8 model colleges, and each model colleges have about almost 199 bunks, bed spaces rather, in each hostel. So that means that we've done about 1,592 bed spaces again in those hostels for in the schools. Now we also have the container schools. So we built that now. We want to make sure that each educational district has one. So what container does is that we use that IT-driven schools, rather than use the typical traditional block and mortar, we introduced reusable containers. And that's what we are using for those schools. So we've done veteran with that. We have a couple of other ones. We have in Ogba now, Ijayi. There's a school that we're going to commission very, very soon. We have in Baptist Academy there. We have in Laloko and Ikoyi. We're also going to build one at West School in Yaba. So all these 3 are going to be commissioned this year. Now, with respect to the issue of rehabilitation that you talked about, we must have covered almost 460 schools. When you talk about counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 464 schools have been touched. With respect to emergency intervention, that goes on, when it rains, the old schools, roof issue, fence issues, collapse fence because of the storm. So we're able to quickly go back there. And that's why we label that as emergency intervention. They could just call us that it's raining 2 weeks ago, this school, the roof has been blown off. We go back and fix it. With respect to furniture in schools, we provided over 250,000 units of furniture in schools for students. We've also done for principals, teachers. And again, also government in its wisdom has also given the principals some stipends to take care of small fixes like handle broken, maybe little leakages and here and there, so that they don't have to wait until it's gets worse.
Okay.
So that's my place.
Okay, how would your office and your committee members describe the support of Governor Oyedepo to the agency?
The success of this agency lies on the initiator who has, beyond initiating, inaugurating, has put his money where his mouth is. So we have tremendous support from Mr. Governor. The support is getting necessary requisite approvals in good time, on time.
On time.
Ensuring that payments for these works are given as at when due or immediately is very, very important. I must just give you a little bit of information. That this model that we run here, at least 2 states have come to meet us to ask us how are we doing it, and we've told them. And I'm always very, very intentional to let them know, look, over and beyond this model and structure I'm giving you, they need that governor's executive backup and support. I mean, for instance, you want the contractor to move to site, the contractor moves because he knows Mr. Babaji Shala Sanwo-Olu will pay.
Do you monitor the contractors?
I do. I go everywhere.
Okay.
With respect to maintenance, we do. I mean, to making sure that quality is maintained on our projects. You know, we have a board.
Okay.
And because I'm an industry person, going to site is part of my life and my business. So I go to maybe 80 to 90% of all the sites. I won't say 100%. I even make sure that I go to the farthest ones. So like when we are commissioning, rather than stay when we are doing mega commissioning, rather than stay in the one in Yaba or Surulere, I will go to I remember when I was going to Badagry, I went to Ipara, which is about the farthest. I went to Akpa, I've been to Togli, all of those things, Betrome. So, but the structure we have here, we have we have 6 education districts. So we have teams. Okay. So in a team, we have about website professionals in each team, and they go to these sites every week.
Have you at any time suspended some contractors from
yes.
Well,
maybe
in terms of enforcing
standards. Yeah, we insist because so what we've done is that if you understand projects, there's when you are awarded the project, we take the site when you are mobilized. We take it to site to hand over the site to you. Okay. So we have SOP, standard operating procedures. This is the way we want our things done. So if you are incorporating anything into our work, for instance, now, because we are doing rehabilitation, windows are bad, you want to give us windows, you want to give us roofing, we tell you, there's a particular color of roof we use, but when you get your roof, give us a sample, we use our calipers to make sure that it's the right gauge. If you're giving us windows, we give us miniature sample, to be sure that we approve it before we incorporate it. So we ensure that the process, even in standard construction procedure, is that if you're a contractor, bring samples are signed off before you incorporate. If you fail to give us samples and you go ahead and it does not meet standards, you take it out.
Okay, Chairman, let's look at funding, because for you to sustain this kind of projects, it requires adequate funding. Apart from government, do you have any support from corporate institutions or bodies or individuals or associations?
This is a general statement. They are welcome. However, these agencies solely funded by government. Okay. But we are not saying that. Occasionally we've seen maybe old students coming to say they want to support their school to build a classroom or to adopt a class or adopt a floor or something like that. But welcome. Then the MHR2, members of House of Reps from Abuja, they have constitutional project. They come and help. Maybe they want to build 3 classrooms and they facilitate some projects too, etc. So we have some of those points, but what we want to make sure happens is that they are properly done. So we've trying to put a policy down whereby if you are coming to help work in any of our schools, there's a procedure. Because in the past we've had abandoned projects. People will come with a good intention, but because of paucity of funds, they can't start and finish the project. Just have some projects abandoned for 5-10 years. So we are saying no more that. If you want to help Lagos State now, you come, go to the Ministry of Education, let's have your plans. They will send them to us, look at your plans, look at your project plans, we look at the program of work, even possible let's know about your funding. So when you start, you finish. Per venture, can't finish. Maybe government will just finish it. We don't want to abandon projects now.
Let's look at collaboration. Who are your strategic partners? What is the level of synergy, really? in order to achieve your set objectives?
First and foremost, we are a disruption
Okay.
of the Ministry of Education. Because typically in the past, they had what they call project units. And you realize that government have realized that it's not sustainable. The project unit, they don't have the kind of know-how, the support, and the speed that we have here. And besides that, SCRPS is fully under Mr. Governor's purview. So we get approvals quicker, etc., etc. However, so when we say as strategic partners, first and foremost, it's still the ministry, because there is a Ministry of Education. We work in that space, secondary and basic. So we do some rehabilitation for the primary schools and also produce furniture for primary schools. And for the basic schools, both the GSS and the SS, we operate very well in that space. So Ministry of Education, like I told you, we work collaboratively to ensure that the schools that we are working on are the schools that deserves that attention, because they are the user ministry. So we cannot even do any school without their knowledge. There is an agency called ASIAMA, the maintenance agency. So it's an handshake between themselves and ourselves. Once we finish this project, they are the one in charge of ensuring that the schools, just like they do for hospitals and all legal assets and buildings like that, they are in charge of maintaining some of the schools. So they engage facilities managers if they are not having in-house people that are doing it for them. They engage facilities managers, and they make sure that the schools and the facilities or the buildings are properly taken care of.
For interested collaborators, how can they reach out to you?
You just go to Ministry of Education, or you write to us. They write to us directly. I have a couple of letters that are directed to us. Go to www.scrips.lagostate.gov.ng. They have Instagram, scrip_org, and also X handle Lagos Scripts. If you want to adopt a school now, just feel that this was your primary school. Even if it's not your primary school, perhaps in your neighborhood you feel that you want to do something, give back to society. You've identified a school, so just write to the ministry, write to us to say, well, you're interested in doing this for this school, and you're welcome.
Okay.
And if you're lucky, if it's something that's very, very big and grand, you get the governor's handshake, which is golden. So once you inform us, we let you know how to go about it. But like I said, it's important. What do you want to do? How do you want to go about it? How long is it going to take you? Do you have adequate funding for it? If you don't have adequate funding, just be open. There's a committee called the Council, Committee of Lagos State Wives. We've done a project together. They funded 50%. The Lagos State funded 50%. And we started and we finished. So if you want to collaborate, just let us know. If your project is 100 million and you have 50, it's welcome. Once it's established, from the beginning we are aware, then we go around. There's no government that will say somebody come up 15% is not trying.
We'll be speaking with the chairman of SCRPS, and of course, like you said earlier, you want to reach out to this agency. Possibly you want to be a strategic collaborator. Visit the website www.scrips.lagostate.gov.ng. On Instagram is scrips_gov. X is Lagos Scripts. Now, Chairman, despite all these huge success stories, there must be some challenges.
Yeah.
What are these challenges, and what effort have you made to mitigate against them?
Look, for me, life itself is a challenge. So rather than sulk or complain, how do we mitigate these things? I'm a project person. There's something we call risk analysis.
Okay.
So when you're starting out on anything, you have to try and do risk assessments. So, and you identify, you see, the one thing is, once you're able to identify the risk, you can try and sort out mitigations. It's only the unidentified risk that's a problem. So majority of our risk has been identified, so we know the mitigations. Although while mitigating, there might be some challenges.
Definitely.
For instance, the easy one is, maybe posture of funds. Okay. Maybe you want to move to site, there's delay. It happens because Lagos is dealing with a lot of things. So there might be some delays in that, but again, it will definitely come, because Mr. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has supported this agency tremendously. I would say it over 100 times if I'm given the time. For instance, we have issue of encroachment, which again, in the wisdom of the governor, he approved the setup of what I call encroachment. We have an ad hoc committee here that deals with encroachment. So, and it's vetted by one of us. It's a subcommittee. So what we do is to go around the schools in Lagos State, the ones that have had encroachment issues. Even it's either they are told, or when we are going around doing our investigation, you discover, because people just go into the school. And so that brought up the issue of ensuring, advising the government to now have proper titling for all the school assets to the school. Again, like you said, typically we are not totally immune from having very, very difficult contractors. But again, I must tell you, maybe to the glory of God and with the support that these people know we have, our performance has been maybe 98%.
Any challenge with vandalization?
That's which is unfortunate, because you'll be surprised that when something is being done for you, the society, the community, you come back and, I mean, which happens in Nigeria. People vandalize pipelines.
Okay. They
vandalize even real tracks. Unfortunately, they vandalize the metals on the bridge to go and convert to something else. These are things that it's quite unfortunate. So what do? We try to make sure that there's adequate security in our schools, ensure that the society, the media society, local government are informed. So they also provide that security for the things that, because it happens. In fact, we had instances where people go and pull out the cables in the building.
Any form of sensitization?
When we finish any project, when we are commissioning, Mr. Governor, once he even goes to commission out of the several, he mentions it. This is done for you. Take care of it. Take responsibility. It's done for you.
It's been wonderful speaking with you, sir. So can you quickly highlight some of the initiatives or other projects you're working on, looking at prospective plans?
Okay, our primary objective is to improve physical infrastructures in schools.
Okay.
But for instance, now I've discussed the issue of the recreation facilities in schools, which is an initiative of Mr. Governor, to ensure that any school that has a space for these facilities, it must be done. And go and see what we've done in those spaces. Okay. Nice football field with tartan track, well done, with hidden drainage pipes under the. All of these things are there. Even some of the sport facilities are better than what you have in some of these private schools. If you go to Otedola, you see one there. You go to, and we make sure we spread it. You go to Tolu Complex, you see fantastic facility there. We even have bleachers where you can actually stand. I recall 2020 or 20 when we are trying to design the school furniture. It was an intentional. We had the design. There has always been designs, but when we looked at the designs we had, we realized that because of ergonomics, we wanted to be sure that the student sits properly to avoid back pain. I mean, some of us, I don't know, we know what it is to have back pain. And it's mostly because of back posture. So we did the design, took it to Mr. Governor. He had to criticize the design, looked at it well, make inquiries. So we resorted to using thick hollow pipes and HDF boards. And we now had, in our days, it used to be lockers on top. And we now introduced under lockers cabins at the bottom of the seats instead of putting it here. Because when you put it in at the bottom of the top of the table, you can't sit well. Okay. So and that you end up doing this, and we want to avoid that. So we decided to put it there. So again, green initiative and sustainability. We thought that we should try and make sure that, because trying to reduce the carbon content in the society and to make sure that we reuse some of the things that have happened. And the containers are always useless. They're actually the rejects those days. Yeah. Okay. So about 15 years back, 20 years back now, they are now being reused for buildings, for offices, etc. So instead of building some schools with brick and mortar, the traditional construction methodology, now we decided to use containers because ordinarily containers are cheaper then and it's faster and they're quite durable. Those things are so strong that, and for another 50 years, that's how they once you. Challenge you only have is to make sure it is insulated. But you need to understand the stacking principles of the containers, so which we understood. So we're able to stack containers. We built 5 locations now. We make sure it's off-grid. It's all solar panel to light up the place. Interactive screens are there. So when you're in classroom, you work with your phone or your tablets. And even when you're off school, once you have internet, you can connect with the classrooms. So those schools have internet access.
The Tolu complex is a test case. It's one case that has proven the point that anything can happen. The agency can go beyond, even above its limits, to deliver on the expectations of Lagosians. So let's look at the Tolu project and other similar projects, and we can cap it up with future plans of the agency.
The Tolu School Complex is quite an interesting project. In terms of scale, it's unprecedented. And I'm quite passionate about it because I could recall at start, how did it start?
Okay.
How did Tolu Complex start? I recall when I was, before now, I hear of Ajegunle. When we were in class in some schools, we've seen people that I'm going to Ajegunle, but we don't really know Jungle City and all of that. But it wasn't, we just thought it was one location, but we didn't know that it was a bustling and an interesting location as is. And when this guy, the footballer, came from that place, like Tolu Complex, okay, the Daddy Showcase of this world, so they came from that place. So definitely challenges are in this place. So that means a lot is happening there. But anyway, it didn't matter to us. But when we had this job to work on this project, how did it happen? There were two schools then. I think it's Greek and Unity. Some of them wrote letters through the Ministry of Education or to us directly. That was 2020, thereabout, to say they wanted renovation. So we sent people to assess the school, that particular block, those two blocks. Tolu Complex is on 11.83 hectares of land. And there are two sites on this. Parcel A is here, parcel B is here. I just went to do random, typically I go to sites for even renovation. When we got there, we now saw the principal of that school. So when we were walking around, some other principal just came around. Chairman, come and see our own school too. Come and see our own school. We went there, we saw this. The primary school students are not in one location, they're all infused anywhere and everywhere.
Scattered.
So it made us, got thinking that we should do something about this place. This place is good. It goes beyond just rehabilitating one or two schools. It needs a total regeneration. See some classes, people sitting on windows, about 120 students in a class. The whole place was just a jungle. Unfortunately, like I said, Mr. Talk and Do, like they call Mr. Governor, we told him that this place needs a total regeneration. He agreed with us and he supported us. We went back to go and do an evaluation of the whole place, assessment. We enumerated the number of schools there, 36, 31 primary secondary schools, 5 primary schools, with the number of students. Because before you can add classrooms, because we are trying to maintain a standard, the NATO standard says 50. So we now decided it's okay, before we can add, we know, okay, how many students do you have? How many active classrooms do you have? So we know the numbers to add. So we did that assignment, assessments, came back with a number of additional classrooms we needed to put in that space. It came to about 13 or so. Then we did one that we have to renovate. We have about 24. We had to demolish some. We now decided to say, okay, this primary school student, let's put them in another cluster. So they are in one area to avoid bullying, because you cannot have just one primary school in the midst of several secondary schools. Primary school students. So we regenerated, reorganized the entire space. And that's what we are seeing today. And we added so many facilities. So because we feel that it was important. So what we've done was to regenerate, make sure that they bound it up. They're all fenced now. We have dedicated gates for them so that you can actually monitor. It's not that you have 4 major gates and you must be in uniform to go in. If you're not in uniform, you must be a teacher. If you're not a teacher, you're a visitor, you must have an ID card. So they are putting all this soft facility in space to make sure that they monitor ingress and egress by non-students or non-teachers in that environment. And again, in addition to it, we thought that when you have 20,000 students in a place, there are some complementary facilities that you need to put in place. And that's why we had to make sure we built for them a primary health center. Because most of our schools, even the regular buildings we have a sick bay.
Okay.
Underneath, all our classroom blocks have a 6 bay that can actually have about 2 or 3 beds, male and female. But this is beyond, and we are talking about 20,000 students, so we had to do a standard primary health so that even if the students are not using it, because Ajegunle is a big community. So they can also come and make use of the facility. We built a fire service station there in case there's fire within the school or outside the school. So it's a common facility. We built that. And the recreation facility we built is for everybody in the school. So we centralized that one, put the primary school in one cluster. We created some recreation facility for them. We give them some play tools, like a swing and all the other things they have in their space there. So you know that when you come into Tolu, when you're coming through Bola Ahmed Tinubu Way, the right, you see the primary school cluster. 5 primary schools are all together in one space. So the secondary schools are also in their own various schools, all fenced with gates, with their food vendor sheds. And again, we now try to do central laboratory units and central ICT centers. What does that do, the laboratory? You have 31 schools, secondary schools. You have 16 senior secondary schools, 15 junior secondary schools. The 16 senior secondary schools have physics, chemistry, biology laboratories in each of them. And with this modern day of flexibility, we thought that was a waste of resources. So we now created a central laboratory unit. The laboratory we've done is such building that can, at a time, biology students, 180 students can be there in 3 classes. So when it is Agbaku school's time to do biology, they clock in, the teachers prepare the lab for them, they come in. 1.5 hours or 1 hour lecture, they leave. So biology, chemistry, and physics, that's what the laboratory is for. So that the laboratories in the spaces there can be freed for additional classrooms. They can do CBTs, they can learn all sorts of things there. And recently we are trying to also build a theater block there.
Oh, fantastic.
So you see, the idea is this. And in Tolu Complex, we have a skills work center. That's a big building, that's about 4 floors. So if you are not academically savvy, you can learn a trade. So that is going to be managed by LASVEP. So the idea is this. Tolu Schools Complex has something for everybody. Be it from academics to skills acquisition, to sports, to arts, and everything. So when you get into that space, you must come out with something. But with the support of the governor, I must always mention this, we're able to do it. We did it in record time. The Tolu Complex project actively was a 2-year project.
Are you replicating this in other places in Lagos?
So no, we don't have such size in
Sites again. Yeah.
So I think we are doing something at Osborne now, which has about 10 schools. There's another one we hope to do, that's Solo. They had about 15 schools, but we are not going there. But we are doing Osborne now. We're starting Osborne. Now they are in all day. That has 10 schools. So it's not in all instances. They have cluster of schools. So that's why it is peculiar. It is the biggest in the whole of West Africa, if not in the world. That you have 20,000 students in one location. Some of the things we've done, I mean, is it the road network we want to talk about now?
Okay.
We can drive to all the schools now. And we've named the roads are now named after the governors, civilian governors of the state. You know, Latif Jakonde is there. You see me at Tinubu, Ambode is there. Sanwo-Olu is there. You know, in order to also scale up the skill acquisition centers in Lagos State, we are working with LASVEB again to do the TVET school now. The TVET school is the first TVET school. I don't know the time they had one before now. The ones they had are all old ones. So Mr. Sanwo-Olu, the governor, is now developing the new TVET school that has several vocational TVET, technical vocational education. TVET is managed by LASVEP. It's big. That's over 5 hectares of land. Because we have several buildings, workshops, and all sorts of things that you can learn from there. We are also managing that project for the states.
Chairman, it's been wonderful speaking with you.
Thank you very much.
The success story of the committee is beyond what I expected. I mean, what the agency has done is all very, very obvious that these has actually fallen in line with the Themes Plus agenda of Mr. Governor. And to a large extent, like The chairman said the governor has been of great, tremendous support to the agency in terms of fast-tracking approvals, absorbing all the recommendations, and quickly giving policy decisions to make this happen. Now, in case you just want to visit the SCRPS website, let me just read it out again. The website is www.scrips.lagostate.gov.ng. On Instagram, you can find them, scrips_gov. On X, Lagos Scripts. Now, Chairman, on a final note, what's your final word of assurance and encouragement to your team members, stakeholders, public school authorities, students, and Lagosians?
Yeah, thank you very much. I thank the governor, firstly, for the support he has given us in this agency, for the initiative of re-inaugurating SCRPS for starters. Haven't realized that it's important for him to bring it back because of the value they are going to add to the physical space of our schools in Lagos. I want to thank Mr. Kwon most dearly. And again, to my team members, I will just thank them because it's been a tremendous thing we've been able to put together. A team that is that can work seamlessly. There's a process in place now that can be followed and are well documented for others to follow. That's why we've been shadowed by some states in Nigeria. And again, to the public, I would just want to let them know that it's important for them to take responsibility and take charge of the facilities that have been given to them. It's one thing for the government to spend taxpayers' money to ensure that these things are established, but it's important again for us as users to ensure that we take responsibility and we take care of those things. There are things we shouldn't be seen trying to damage or destroy what we have used our own money to put up. So my advice to them, and particularly the students, is to ensure that this opportunity that they've gotten, they should make the best use of it. The physical space of the school infrastructure has been improved tremendously, and I expect that the students should take charge and use this as an opportunity to improve the impact by ensuring that the results are getting better. Because I know that greatly the infrastructure has a psychological influence on students. I mean, I could tell you for free that what we saw when we went back to Tolo Complex after the commissioning, we were quite impressed. Students now stay in class. They no longer hang around. They no longer play around even when these lectures are going on. So I believe that they should be committed to their studies, make use of these facilities, and at the end of the day, we can get better impact in the education space in Lagos State. Thank you very much.
Quantity Surveyor Akeem Smith, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the program. I want to wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And of course, Lagosians are looking forward to greater times and better services.
Thank you very much.
What we're taking away from here is that this government of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has zero tolerance for poor teaching and learning environment. That's why SCRPS has lived up to its mandate, vision, and mission statement. That's it on Lagos Agencies in Focus on the City of Lagos TV show on TV Nigeria. Thanks for watching. There is so much that you probably do not know about this city of Lagos. If you know Lagos, you know Nigeria. Join us again next week to get more knowledge about this great city, Lagos. Remember, love Lagos.